All right, great. Recording now. All right. So square roots is on page 267 in the book 2. I advise you guys to get the books. All right. The book 2, the study guide, and the Oxford. They're very important because that's what I want to use now to go in depth. Right. So when you're on the website, is everyone on it?
Yes, sir. I'm on the.
Sir, I only see any equations.
See any equations? You don't see today's date with square roots underneath it?
No, sir.
All right, one moment. Can someone screen share for me then? So let me give George the permission to screen share, and you just screen share for those who can't see
Okay, sir.
the notebook. All right, so George, just screen share for me. All right. So when you're on the book now,
Research.
all right. So George is screen sharing. Great. So there we go. So these are the three main topics. So as you can see, if George could just zoom in a little bit, but as you can see, there's three main topics for this term, right? We've gone through three of them. We've gone through all of them. We went through linear equations, right? We went through inequations or inequalities, and then we talked about circles and the circumference and diameter. Everybody remember that? Yes, no? So do you remember the three topics I went through? Linear equations, inequations, and circles, right? Can anyone confirm?
Yes, sir.
Right. But the issue that I'm having though, because while I was marking the paper, the issue that I'm having is that the foundation that you're supposed to have from senior one is not there. Right? For example, square roots and simple factorizing. So what I want to do is to take a break and just make you understand what is square roots. Right? So that's what we're gonna do quickly. Because it's not a case that right. So head it up for me. It's not a case that is the students don't understand what is to be done in the exam. It's just a case where the knowledge that you're supposed to have previously might not be fully concretized. So page 267.
Sir, could you put the link of the journal in the chat, please?
All right, let me send it again. Here you go. So I'm gonna start typing now, so you should be able to see me typing. Okay, so let's start. 267, book 2. Right. So what is square root? Obviously, it's coming from a word square, right? And for example, when we said two um, squared, that gave us a value, right? That gave us 4. But the square root is doing something that would have a value like 4, for example. The square root means the opposite of squaring a number. All right, so let's write that. The square root. So George, can you zoom in a little bit for me so they can see it? Just zoom in a little bit.
Sir, you are breaking up.
Just zoom in for me a little bit. Yeah, right. There you go. So the square root is the opposite of squaring a number. Alright? And an example of squaring a number is above, where you say 2 squared. It is an algebraic expression which when multiplied by itself gives the number or gives the number or the original expression. Right. So this is an additional definition. So yes, at its front is just saying that it's the opposite of squaring a number. But more in-depth is just simply a method to where when you express a number, multiplying it by itself would give the original value. Let me give an example. Right. Does anyone know the square root symbol?
Yes, sir.
Right?
Like a dividing sign, but with a tick on it.
Right. So the square root symbol, just draw it in your book for me. And let me do a very horrible drawing. Right there. There you go. No, that's There you go.
So I can draw it.
Yeah, so someone just draw it. Okay, good. So someone just drawed a while ago. Thank you. That's how it looks. All right. Let's make it a little bit neater. There you go.
So let me do it.
All right, you draw it for me because I'm very because I'm using a mouse pad, so I might not do good as you could. But yeah, there you go. Perfect. Say for example, put 4 in this.
Yes, sir. 4.
So put that for me. Square root of 4. Okay.
So are you an art teacher?
No, and you can tell, right? You can tell. So this is called the
Oh,
square root.
because you teach.
Huh?
Because you teach technical drawing.
Right. I'm a technical drawing teacher, but it's not art to say. But yes, I'm a technical drawing teacher. All right. So the square root symbol is looking at this, just like what George drew. This is called the square root sign, not the symbol, but you can use the word interchangeably. All right. And essentially, for example, let's say this 4 could be called I. Right? So I represents any number. For example, 4. So we're creating a scenario now. We're saying that I represents any number, for example, 4. If I squared, alright, if I squared means times I means I multiplied by I, right? The square root of I squared. So let me write it for you. So I'm gonna put it as a drawing and you just write it in your book normally. So here I go. So I'm gonna clean everything here. Oh my God. There you go. So let me just clean everything here and then I'm gonna draw square root of I squared for you.
What did you say that you were gonna do?
Right. So I'm gonna draw what the square root of I squared looks like. So look at
Let me draw back.
yeah, so draw so here you go, square root symbol. Here we go. And to put the I squared underneath is just simply I, right, multiplied
Sir,
by I. So put that in your book. This means the square root of I squared.
example.
Everybody have this?
So I'm writing down the example.
All right. So let's go back up here. We're saying that I represents any number, like 4, and to have I squared, just 4 squared, is saying 4 times 4. Right? So in other words, you could have written square root of 4 times 4 here. And we're gonna show you what the square root sign does to this number. Okay? So does everyone have this down?
Wait, sir, I'm almost done.
All right. So the square root is gonna do something to this value that was a squared value. Right.
Yes, sir, I have it.
Okay. So because we have 2 of the same things, I times I, 4 times 4, right? The square root, the term root means where you come from, right? So if you're talking about the plant comes from the root. So if you have a number 4 times 4, what was the original number there? If you have twice of a number, what was the original number?
Square.
4. Right, someone said 4. So
That was me.
Squared of 4. Whatever.
I'm a genius, boys. I'm a genius.
right, so if you're
I'm a
finding
genius.
so if you find the square root of 4 squared, you're essentially telling me where the number comes from, which is 4. All right, so let's write that. Let me go down here. Right. So we're gonna the square root of the product of 2 terms such as 4 times 4, and in bracket put 4 squared. 4 squared is the identical number which represents one of the two values. Essentially, the identity of 4 times 4 would give us 4, because that's the number that represents the two values. Everybody understand?
Yes.
The identity of I squared is I, because that represents the value of the two of them. Both of them come from I. Okay, so we can create an example from this. So let's use another example. Example using a number. Let's say we're given to say find the square root, right? Find the square root of a number 9, right? Let's work it out. The square root of 9 is equal to
Times 3.
factors, right? So it has to be two numbers that multiply to give you 9. Anyone remember the factor?
A number that can be times into another number and then you get a product.
Right, exactly. So if we want to find the square root of 9, we have to represent a product of two factors. So for example, 3 times 3. 3 can go into 9. The other 3 as well can go into 9. So those two 3's are what you call factors of 9. Right?
Yeah.
Right, that's right. So the square root of 9 is equal to factors multiplying. Okay? And in this scenario, identity therefore would be one of those values. So what would be the square root then?
The square root would be
So wait, first of all,
3.
give me two numbers that multiply to give you 9.
3 times 3.
Right. So
No.
3 times 3. Give me one identity from that multiplication. What value represents both the values in that product?
3 squared.
What value can you get the root from those two numbers? Like, what is the first value in that question? 3 times 3. What is the original value from there?
9. 9.
Guys, let's put a pause back. Go back up to I. When we were saying I squared, and we said that the identity was the I squared from I, so we said that I is the root. So if we're saying that 9 comes from 3 times 3, right? What is the root of 3 times 3? 3.
Yes.
Right. So the identity, which is the square root, is 3. Is 3. And we found on the calculators, so that's what we're going to go into next. Because what if you get a number like a decimal? That's pretty hard to calculate. Mental math to say which two numbers multiply and what value will give me the identity. Right? So we're going to go into using calculators. Does everyone have a calculator?
Yeah.
All right.
So I don't know where my calculator is at.
All right. So but as long as you have a calculator, that's good because you need one. Right?
Go on Google and look up calculator.
Right. You can even use a virtual calculator because I have one as well. You go calculator. You can just type root of 4. Oh, it didn't work, but I'll figure it out. The square root of
Square root of 4 is 2.
right, but I don't know how to type it. Like, let me see. Figure it out. I'll figure it out. But for you guys, you do need a calculator. Whether you download a software that is a calculator. You need a physical to help you get accustomed to the.
Need a scientific calculator
Right.
as well.
Right. So on your calculator, there's gonna be a button. Calculator.
Sorry, sir, I have a scientific calculator. I left mine.
Alright, but ensure that you just have exposure to one right now. So whether you look it up online or you just use one you have in your hand. So for example,
Calculator on Google.
Right.
It has the square root thing.
so I'm gonna share my to the calculator and you'll see what I'm referring to. So let me share my screen.
Share.
All right, one moment, guys. Let me show you.